nice to meet you. My name is Malcolm Nicolson, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the needs of the adolescent brain, thinking in particular about those adolescents, say around about ages 11 to 14. I spent a lot of time working for the IB over the last few years, and in that time I was really responsible for the education of children of that particular age across the world in many, many schools. So it's really interesting to me to think about what we know and understand from brain research, from psychological research, biological research, and understanding how young people of that very special age are growing, thinking, and how they can be engaged with learning. As I said, I worked for the IB for 8 years. I was the head of the middle years program for 5 of those years and head of the diploma program development for 3 years. Prior to that, I taught in Thailand, the Bahamas, and the UK. So I've taught in some very nice places, as you can tell. But first of all, let's think about what are the unique needs of children of that particular age, say 11 to 14, or middle school age if you like. What kind of learning do they need? What kind of curriculum will best support the students and the teachers in helping them to be motivated to enjoy their learning and to do their best? Well, there are really 5 needs that have been identified for the adolescent brain. And I'm going to go through each of those 5. Those 5 are the need to connect learning, the need to make meaning of learning, the need to take risks, the need for peer validation, and the need for structure and discipline, if you like, as a bridge from primary school to secondary school. So let's think first about the need to make links, linked learning. What does that mean, and what are the implications for us as teachers? If you think about the brain, it has a particular architecture. It's got structures where new learning is being built when synapses connect and join together. Those nerve endings join together. But we know that our brain doesn't record experiences like a camera does. It records it in pieces. And then what we do when we try to remember again is we recreate those experiences. So it's not actually like a camera. It's more like putting together a jigsaw piece or a jigsaw puzzle, if you like. So what are the implications for that? If children of that particular age need to make connections, well, what we can do is we can make connections around themes or key concepts, larger, bigger ideas or essential understandings when we develop curriculum. So whether you have a mandated curriculum or whether you have the flexibility to develop more of your own curriculum and content, it's important to think about linking and connecting. So you might have a central theme around which various subjects will link. Now we can go beyond traditional linkages that you might see in primary schools, for example, volcanoes, dinosaurs, and all linking into that, but something that's more conceptual and really develops deeper thinking and understanding and hence engagement. So big ideas through subjects, for example, adaptability, resilience, collaboration, balance, discovery. So going beyond that, more of a thematic idea to take us into a conceptual link, way of thinking, and then students make those connections. And that is something that is so important for the young people of that particular age, as I say, is making connections. Okay, the next one that I mentioned, number 2, is the need to make meaning of the learning. It has to mean something. Now, how do we make meaning from their learning? How do we help students to see the relevance, most importantly? One of the big pieces there that's so important is context. Sometimes when we as adults design curriculum and teach our young students, we make assumptions on behalf of adults. We don't really know them, do we? We are adults after all. But what you need to do is to connect with them somehow, make it relevant and meaningful. That might be something that's going on in the local community or the country or the world at that time. It could be something that's quite meaningful within your school community. and you relate it. This can come through economics, geography, the sciences, literature, just about anything. You can connect it and find some authentic relationship with them and something that means something to them personally, to try to make meaning. Other ways you can do this is perhaps at the end of a unit, rather than having a traditional test or a quiz, you could have the students produce something through different media, create their own films, create their own PowerPoints or their own podcasts, or even develop a website, which helps them to develop a deeper understanding of what you've been doing, but also it's engaging, it's fun, and it's a chance for them to express how much that learning means to them. So that second one is making meaning of learning. Now the third point about the needs of the adolescent brain is an interesting one and is widely misunderstood. This is the need to take risks. They want to take risks, but does this mean jumping off buildings? Does this mean reproducing all those bizarre videos we see on YouTube where students or young people jump from a roof onto a trampoline and then into a pool, or not? Is that what it means? No. This is about trying to satisfy the need for taking risk or seeking sensation, which is what the young people are doing of that particular age. They're looking for that thrill, some kind of a thrill. But how can we provide that thrill in an organized, safe, and structured environment? There's a number of things you can do, of course. There's the idea that within a class, for example, even putting your hand up to answer a question is taking a risk for many students. So providing students with opportunities to answer questions, or providing students with the opportunity to give presentations, or, as I said before, going back to the idea of students taking charge of what they do to demonstrate their understanding, be it making a film or a webcast or something of that sort. So it's the idea that students are doing something a little bit out of the ordinary, that's something that's a little bit more exciting for them. So it could be, as part of their research, that they demonstrate their understanding in a way that they wouldn't have ordinarily. They're going beyond the approach of essays, quizzes, and tests and so on. Opportunities for students to actually really do something that engages with them. As part of this is that students are really looking for validation from their peers. At that age group, they're more likely to listen to their peer group than they are to you and me. We're the old people. We're not the ones that they're really interested in making us happy and smile. They want to look good in front of their peer group. They want that peer validation. So they will take more risks in the company of and the presence of their peers. So some good strategies to use in that situation, if you really want to develop this idea of getting peer validation and taking safe, structured risks, is have students working in groups, have them working in pairs, have them go into groups of their own choice, have them demonstrate their understanding in ways that mean something to them that are not directed by us as adults, have them assign specific roles within groups so that they can actually come up with something that is really better than it would have been if it was done by individuals. So the keys here are demonstrating understanding in ways that they wouldn't normally do, like giving presentations, letting them use multimedia, and very importantly is collaboration. And linked to that, of course, is peer assessment, because they are looking for the validation of peers rather than, say, the teacher. So if they know they're being peer assessed, that could provide some motivation and support that learning. And the final one of the 5 points that really points to what we can do to help the adolescent brain is thinking of structure. They really do need help with structure. They're moving from primary, where they may have had one teacher or a limited number of teachers teaching everything, to the notion of going to lots of subjects, lots of teachers, lots of movement. It can be quite hectic. And what we need to do as schools and as teachers is to really help those students with some form of structure. Provide a bridge, if you like, going from that holistic, connected notion of primary school to the segmented, disconnected secondary school. So their brain at this point is still under construction. There's a lot of development, a lot of growth going on, a lot of connections being made, as we talked about before. Connections are important. Connecting to prior learning, connecting to what they've done before. But there's the notion of their brain being under construction. So students need specific help with planning, with strategizing, with organizing, with setting goals, and with paying attention to important details. If you think about all of those things together, it raises all sorts of issues. Setting goals, that's a very important piece of the movement at the moment for positive education, positive psychology. If you're setting goals, it can improve your motivation through optimism and then developing resilience from there. Or think about paying attention to the small details. This really relates to mindfulness and the ideas of being in the moment and focusing on what's in front of you at this moment. It's all about the present time. So what else is needed for these students? At this point in time, as I say, they need help with the structure. They're struggling to make sense of the world. They're struggling to make connections. They're struggling to be organized. They're wanting to find relevance in their own lives. They want to feel that they're actively involved and engaged, particularly in their learning. Passive learning really does not suit this age group at all. It's got to be active, doing, and part of the learning process. They really need their peers for so many things. And what they really need is structure and organization in a safe environment. So if we provide clear, easy to follow instructions of what needs to be done and when, then it really helps them. Give them or enable them to have strategies so that they can organize their lives, both physically through packing bags, timetables, revision schedules, etc., through to the emotional support that they require as well, whether it's through helping them with strategies such as mindfulness or looking at all sorts of other affective domains with ideas along the lines of development of resilience, optimism, and really helping them to deal with a very, very complex time. So what I'm really saying to you here is that teenagers have particular needs. We as teachers can design our curriculum. We can design our assessments, the taught, written and assessed curriculum in a way that supports and improves learning at this particular time. We can't ignore these particular needs of the students because their brains are changing, their brains are developing, the world is changing, and on top of that you have the changes at that particular age in hormones. So we really do need to do our best to address these needs. And it's worth bearing in mind those 5 needs of the adolescent brain. It's the need to connect learning, the need to make meaning of learning, the need to take risks, the need for peer validation, and the need for structure and discipline. Keep those in mind when you design curriculum, but also for the strategies that you use during lessons. Now, there's one more thing I want to share with you about the brain. And this relates a lot to the idea of mindset that's really supported by Carol Dweck. And I would encourage you to read the work of Carol Dweck. She's a professor at Stanford University in the US. And other great literature to read around her work on mindset is by Matthew Said, who is a journalist, a former table tennis Commonwealth Games champion from the UK. And he's written some great books, Bounce and Black Box Thinking, that really delve into the idea of mindset. Because what we really want to see is the development of young people, our students, who have growth mindsets, who don't say, well, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, I'll never be good at that. My dad says that he wasn't good at this, so I won't be. What we want to develop is students who know that they are not yet there, but through hard work, they will get there. And one of the biggest things that you can do to help students to develop this growth mindset, to really think that they can make it, through hard work they can get there, is to teach them about the brain. Give them a lesson. And Dweck actually talks about the power of improving students' achievement through one hour lesson on neural plasticity. That's all she's found that it's taken. One hour lesson. Neural plasticity, so it's easy for me to say, doesn't mean to say that our brain is plastic. What it means is that our brain is always growing. And that, like a muscle, we can train our brain. And that's the key to this. If children understand that you can develop your brain through training, through practice, through hard work, then their minds open up. They start to realize, well, I'm not there yet. If I keep training and training and training and using my brain and practicing, then I can get there. I can learn what I need to learn. I can do what I need to do. Now, this isn't to say that talent is not important. If we take Roger Federer as an example, one of the greatest tennis players of all time, possibly the greatest, he, of course, has talent. But on top of that, there's the thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of practice. And it's great to share these stories with students. Think of David Beckham and his free kicks, or Michael Jordan and the number of free throws he tried and failed and tried and failed. You've got examples from the world of business, entertainment, but particularly from the world of sport. So use these examples, but you can show students that the brain is developing. It's like a muscle. It will grow. So if you think of it and frame it in terms of brain, what you know about the brain, and therefore what they can bring to their own learning, then it really makes a difference. And I would recommend reading Dweck inside, because they can show how that basic understanding of neural plasticity, of brain growth, really does make a huge difference to student learning. Now, hopefully, when you consider everything I said here in this very quick webcast, is you think about the 5 needs that I mentioned for the adolescent brain. Think about the difference that only one lesson on neural plasticity can make to the students. You can see gains in engagement, you can see gains in achievement levels for students across your school. These are exciting times. If we can really help students to have that self-awareness and to have teachers have that awareness of the needs of the students, then we're on to a winner, aren't we? Now, I hope this is interesting to you. I hope you enjoy working with the strategies and really think about them and see what works for you and get the best out of your learners. In the meantime, I really hope that I meet you face to face sometime. Please share ideas and thoughts through the usual ways, and I look forward to hearing and answering any questions you have and being part of the discussion, because we only ever learn from each other, we talk to each other, and we are part of this large professional learning community. I don't have all the answers, neither do you. We can all develop and grow together. So thanks very much. I look forward to speaking with you again, and have a great day.